Electrocast.
There's a change happening in the way we live, the way we work, the way we spend our money and make our decisions. We are evolving to be more conscious in our actions in a way that serves the world and makes it a better place. Welcome to the Ethical Evolution. The Ethical Evolution podcast is brought to you by the Ethical Change Agency. I'm Bindi, CEO and founder, and I am honoured to bring you the stories of those who create change through paying it forward and giving back. Ethical business owners and holistic healers who are determined to create collective change in the world. Once we have a change in consciousness, and through collective change, we can become one. This week's guest is no stranger to the Ethical Evolution podcast. She's been here before. I'd like to welcome back Leonie Dawson, who is the global best-selling author of her Goal Workbooks for Life and Business. She also does a series of online courses that can help you manifest money and to also write a book and also help you with your anxiety. So if you want to find out more about Leonie, head to leoniedawson.com and check out all the amazing stuff that she has on offer. But today I really want you to immerse yourself in this time with Leonie. There's lots of laughs. There's lots of insight as well on how we can actually get through this COVID-19 pandemic without completely losing it. So I hope you enjoy this chat at this really important time in our history. Welcome, Leonie, to the Ethical Evolution.
Oh, thanks, Bindi. It's good to be back, my love.
Yes, you're back by popular demand. So we've done a few of these now.
I think, is this our third?
Yeah, it is.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's our third podcast date. I'm excited.
Yeah.
We're a good match, us two.
We are, and I've got a feeling it won't be the last. But anyway.
We're just going to wait for like the next crisis to hit for us to talk about something.
We'll be all over it. Now, you're coming to us from the Sunshine Coast, a couple of hours north of where I am in Queensland. And if people don't know who you are, obviously you are a uber successful, globally successful best-selling author of your workbooks for life and business. You've been doing those for 10 years now.
Yes.
And those have been super successful, and you do so many other things like courses and resources for people, and you are absolutely amazing. Now, the last time we spoke, did you say your business was worth around 10 million?
Well, yeah, I've brought in over $10 million in revenue.
Yeah, and you only work 10 hours a week?
Yeah. And people are like, "Oh, you do that now that you've earned 10 million." And I'm like, no, I've always only worked 10 hours a week in my business, just because that out of pure necessity, because I had kids and all that stuff.
And, we were just chatting off air. It's like your whole life was set up exactly for where we are right now.
It is. My husband's like, you've been prepping for coronavirus all along, because we homeschooled for 3 years, and it's only in the last term that we finally had 2 kids in school for the first time in 10 years. And that lasted 6 weeks until we pulled them out because of coronavirus. They will go back. But so it's like, okay, well, I'll return to homeschooling. And in terms of my business, everything's online anyway, and I don't leave the house for shit. I don't even have any events or, some people do online businesses, but it's kind of blended with face-to-face stuff because they love that. I don't. So, I'm fully prepped for coronavirus.
So at the time of recording, we are going through a global pandemic, and we've been put into lockdown. I think we're around week 5 at the moment. So, we're finding our new normal. There's a whole heap of change going on in our lives, but for some of us it's quite easy, others not so much. So for you'd done homeschooling with your kids previously, and you were quite excited when the kids actually were both at school and you had some time to yourself, and now they're back home again.
Yeah. I mean, I figured we had a 5-week honeymoon, just me and my husband. That was lovely. We really filled up our wells during that time. But then I just didn't think that we would go back to homeschooling again, just because the needs of our kids had changed. And so I feel kind of lucky because I feel like, oh, I get this, like, I don't know, this second wind, this extra blessing, this bonus encore round of homeschooling that I didn't think we'd get. So I really want to, even though I know it's going to be hard work, and even though I know there'll be days when I will have to take to my bed, um, like a dishevelled Mrs. Bennet from Pride and Prejudice, like, I know that it's going to be really sweet and filled with even more memories with my kids. And so if I can make some really sweet connective times with my kids, then that'll be pretty bonzer, I think.
So what are your tips for parents that are trying to work from home and also school their kids at the same time, or support them while they're doing online learning?
Yeah. So first and foremost, I wanted to say, like, we are in a massive crisis, and I'm grateful that the school that my kids are at are very clear about the fact that this is crisis schooling. So it's not going to be the same as normal, like, day-to-day mechanisms at school, and that it's going to be imperfect. And they said, we understand that your kids are going to get distracted by everything. We understand that they are going to drive you bonkers, and so we want to support you in the ways that we can. So one is, like, if you're, I mean, and that's the hard thing, is when your school doesn't have the same kind of level of support and mentality, but to try and bring that in anyway, and just realize, like, this is a really short period of time. Don't worry about your kids falling behind. Give them the chance to have some freedom, to have some free play, to let them, like, disappear into their imaginations, because we know from all of the research that kids are deeply, deeply starved for nature time, and they're deeply, deeply starved for free play. And that when we deprive them of that, we're depriving them of very, very important and essential things for child development. And this is, like, backed up by every bloody child psychologist out there and every child education expert. So we're kind of heading in the wrong direction anyway. So just let them be kids, and let them experience a 1970s childhood for the next few months. It's not going to be forever. It's just a few months, and your kid's not going to fall behind, because we have nearly 1 billion children in the same situation throughout the world right now. I could pretty much guarantee your kids are probably, like, really super well resourced in terms of they're going to be fed, and they're going to be, basically looked after. Like, they're going to thrive with a bit of neglect, like roses do. And you've got access to the internet. This is huge. This is amazing. Let them be children. Set some limits around screen time, because you do want them to be able to actually experience the beauty of board time and nature time and free play time. So for us, with our kids know that they can't touch, like, computers to play on them until after lunch.
Yep.
And then they can, then they can play Minecraft or whatever. But they were allowed to watch YouTube for a little while, but then we thought, nah, this isn't working for us. So my kids are 6 and 10. So of course it depends on your kid's age, but just setting some limits to allow them to be able to thrive in this time is important.
Yeah, and I know there's a lot of parents, particularly those that have teenagers that, in year 12, they're kind of panicking because it's their senior year. They think that they're not going to do well, particularly if they didn't do well the previous year. The advice I've been giving to people is just let them be in the moment. Like, let's not freak out about what could potentially happen. Just support them in the space they're in right now. That's all you can do.
Really. And I want to say this as somebody who was a super high achiever at school. I was the school captain. I was the school dux, and I graduated in the top 5%. it didn't fucking matter, guys. Like,
No.
spoiler alert, that level of stress actually wasn't useful.
No.
And I only went on to do a Bachelor of Arts. And guess what? I didn't even finish the Bachelor of Arts. Like, university has never been a part of my success route. And instead, like, just allow your children to be like happy and enthusiastic learners in whatever way is possible. Try and allow them to like be interested and find out about the things that they're really passionate about right now, because that's going to point you to really important places. And also, like, I always say to people, like, I wish I'd gone back to 17-year-old Leonie, who was like, I was on antidepressants when I was in high school because I was just so freaked out. I'm like, one, it doesn't make sense, Leonie, because you're only wanting to do a Bachelor of Arts anyway. Like, you could fart that out, mate. Like, calm down. You don't need an OP2. It was an OP18 entrance score. Like, I just overshot that mark completely. It made no sense. And two, in university, if you take a year off, you can just enter in as a mature age student, and it's like piece of piss to get in.
And this is it. I never went to uni, right? I passed normal high school, right?
Yeah.
As a senior. I never went to uni. I did external courses and things like that. I got a diploma. But, you know, I don't have a uni degree, and look at me.
It's great. It's great, right? Like, there's so many ways to have success in this world. And sometimes I think we really fret about the university. Like, I know my parents really fretted when I gave up university at the age of 20, but I was like, well, this is not in my life plan. Like, I've got other things to do with my life.
Yeah. So you got the kids at home and you're trying to do work, and how do you stop them from being distracted?
Oh, so one, I think we have to be really easy on ourselves and realize that our kids are going through really essential and like brain development right now. And so what we know from neuroplasticity is that our brains can adjust to everything. However, it does take time, and your brain will feel overwhelmed, and you will feel physically tired, irritable, and moody during this time. So, you've probably experienced it yourself, and I've definitely experienced it, is that as this has become our new normal, our brain has worked overtime to form new synapses and make this our new normal. But it means that we've been tired and moody and not really able to take in new information. The same is true for our kids. Our kids are going through the same stuff, and they're a little bit less in control than us. So we have to be really gentle and really kind with them, and realize that, like, if you really push your kids right now, you're actually at risk of damaging your relationship and your connection with them. And what they need most of all right now is a secure attachment to you, and for them to just have a safe place to be, so that their brains and their hearts can adjust to this massive time. So try and place your connection first and foremost, because I promise you yelling at your kids and pushing them to do worksheet after worksheet, all that's going to come of that is fuck all learning.
Yeah.
Like, they're not gonna learn. Their brains are like at breaking point already. And two, it will be a really sad and hard time for them. That's going to be a while for them to recover. And instead, you could allow this to be a time where you place their emotional health and their physical health at the highest priority, and your connection with them to be strong and stable. So school has to come far down the list of priorities right now.
Yeah. So the other thing I think that some parents are struggling with is actually talking about coronavirus with kids and not scaring the crap out of them.
Of course.
Yeah. So how are you finding that?
It's interesting. So I'm pretty blithe when it comes to ignoring things. I'm sort of like, I'll be fine. And my husband's kind of more Mr. Safety instead. So about 2 months ago, once there was more and more noise happening, he said, I think we have to sit down the kids and have a chat to them about coronavirus, because otherwise they're going to hear from other people first. We need to kind of be the purveyors of information here.
Yeah.
So we did that, and we said, you're probably going to be hearing about this at school, and you're going to be okay. We're going to be okay, and this is what we're going to do in order to tend to it. And we've kind of kept up that conversation. We've tried to be mindful about the conversations that we're having in front of them. We've also tried to be mindful about our own media consumption as well, because, I've stayed up and read articles about what it's like to be in the New York epicenter right now of coronavirus, and they're not able to sleep and gone into acquired a bad anxiety spiral for a few days because of it. So that wasn't helpful.
No.
Like, there's one part of being informed, and then another part of being like, well, you're freaking out actually helps nobody, and it actually hinders your family right now. So you need to really calm the fuck down and be careful of what you're reading. So we try and, one, moderate ourselves, and two, then limit a little bit information to the kids, but give them a picture. So yesterday I said to them, hey guys, I just wanted to give you a corona update. And I'm like, oh, really, Mum? And I said, yeah, I'm just letting you know, because of we're doing what we're doing, the Australian numbers are looking really good. We're looking at it each day, and you'll be staying home probably for term 2 of schooling, which is fine anyway, but you will be able to go back to school at some point, and we just need to keep doing this important work. I'm like, okay, Mum. So we just try and have that kind of a weekly update with the kids and reassure them of what we're doing. And they know that, they're not allowed in grocery stores right now. They know that, only Mum's going to go in, we'll all drive to the shop together, but only Mum's going to go in to grab something. And they know, that we're not going to hug strangers right now.
Yeah.
Not that they would anyway, but and all if you have teenagers, you'd have to be really careful about them consuming too much on social media, because it's heartbreaking and it's awful, and you need to be very mindful of your own mental health right now.
That's it. And, I can so relate to you there. I found myself watching the early American news on TV, and, they're right in the epicenter in the hospitals of emergency in New York. And I got to the point where it actually physically made me sick and I had to go throw up. I was,
of course, my love.
I just was sweetheart. Like, whoa. You just look at the magnitude of it and you go, nah, I can't do this.
Yep.
So you got to actually limit yourself. You got to walk away, and you've got to get out of those loops, because you'll get stuck in it, and that's all you'll know. So you actually need to step away, and this is where you got to put your own filter on things.
Yeah.
Because we hear so much stuff. There's a lot of misinformation going out as well. You've really got to put your own filter on it and what it means to you.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're just going to be a downright mess.
It's true. And for me, I've discovered that listening to the Prime Minister is a big trigger for me.
Yeah.
I just feel irrationally angry. And I'm not a Liberal voter whatsoever, clearly, fucking clearly. But I will say, at this point, I'm kind of happy with what they're doing. They've kind of got to the point where I'm okay, but I still will want to throw eggs at the TV if I see his face talking. So I've learned that I just need to read a news article about what he said and just give me the dot points.
That's it.
And if there's any information that is pertinent to me, that's what I need to know about. But everything else can go fuck itself right now. Everything else can go fuck itself gladly. And all I really need to know at this point is school. And even then it's I'll make that decision for my kids when that time's right.
Yeah. And the whole, there's so many grey areas and they never get straight to the point.
No.
You can go out for this, this and this, but don't go out. And if you've got 2 people in the house, you can have 2 people visit. But if you've got more than that, no more than 2. It's like, what? Whoa.
Right? It's mind-bending. So, yeah, I think I just try and wait until my state government releases the information, because that seems a little bit clearer at this point.
Yes.
It seems like the state premiers are like, I don't know, they're kind of the ones we're turning to at this point. We're like,
well, we kind of have to. Like even this week, the whole mix-up with school, like send your kids to school. No, we said no. And it's like, come on, guys, get on the same page here. Like this is ridiculous. And there's all this backpedaling, and so they're not making it easy in a very stressful time. So
it really is. My school principal sent out an email last night saying, hey, just letting you know, we've received word from the state government that, 5 weeks at least we'll be doing online learning. So we've set up all of the structures. And then he went on to write this really large email. And then right at the end, it was like, and I've just got a text message from the Australian government saying that school's back on. We're going to follow state government advice right now.
Oh, isn't it ridiculous? Oh.
It is bonkers, and I really feel for all of the teachers at schools right now because they're having to build on changing sands, and it is bonkers. It's really bonkers. Yeah, try and be as kind as you can to your teachers at schools, and send them send them love and affirmations, and say you're doing a great job, and I appreciate everything you do in this world, and take a break also.
Yeah. Which leads us to, we were talking about mental health as well. And, through this whole period, I'm noticing that, right from the beginning, it was almost like we're going through a grieving process. So we were grieving the things that we can't do anymore, the life that we once had, the things that we used to do, the things we used to rely on, the people that we love. And then we find ourselves going through these, patterns that you go through in grief, and you reach the other side and you're like, oh, I think I feel a bit better now. But then you find yourself going through new cycles as new things happen.
Yeah, of course.
And like you said with that neuroplasticity, I found for a number of weeks that I just wasn't motivated to do the things I love to do, And then it's only in the last week that I've gone, you know what, I'm back on track now. Yeah. But I think we've got to be easy on ourselves here, because we are trying to find this new normal and these new pathways for us. And part of that, there is anxiety, there is fear, there is anger. How are you dealing with that?
I was watching Gogglebox last night, and it made me laugh because I just think they're a really great example of just Australia.
Yeah.
Just all the kinds of Australians out there and what they're thinking. And one of them was kind of sitting there with a glass of wine. She said, how I've been quarantined for 4 weeks now, and you know how there's all this advice about I could write a book in quarantine. I could do all these kinds of things in quarantine. It's been 4 weeks and I've done fuck all.
That's it.
And she was just quite content with it. I thought, good on you, boo. Good on you. And my husband laughed heartily and said, this is exactly how I feel.
Yeah.
So whereas me, on the other hand, my coping mechanism is to do a lot. That's how I cope with things. So there's kind of the underproducers and the overproducers, and both are reactions to crisis. So Brene Brown talks about this in her podcast as well. And so the ones that are completely frozen right now and just feel like, oh God, I can't do anything. That's a totally valid way of coping, and it's very, very normal. And on the other hand, there's the overproducers who are doing a lot right now. And that's actually exactly the same kind of reaction. And it might look like this is more sexy, but they're still reacting, and their brain is still a hive. And we're more at risk at burnout.
Yeah.
So I just want you to have permission, whatever camp you fall in, it's okay. It's very, very normal, and you don't have to be the other. And who you are depends on, one, of course, just your own person. Two, it also depends on your family history and the genetics and what you were raised in childhood to react to crises with. Because I'm from a farming family, of course, we're going to jump into control mode through action.
Yeah.
So I found like I have to really be careful of how much I'm doing, because otherwise I will burn out and go a bit flopsy. So it's handy when you like realize that both are reactions. And I think it's really important. Like self-care, we think is like, oh, it's really important. But during times like this, it is critical. Absolutely critical to go gently on you, and to do whatever you need to do in order to be okay in the world. And to have like your little support structures set up, so that you know that if you are starting to spiral, you tell someone. So I have a good mate who's kind of like a mental health check-in, like kind of accountability, and so we'll tell each other when shit's hitting the fan with our brains, and we do that anyway. And so when I started to spiral after reading those American articles, one, I told my husband, I'm like, I actually, wow, I'm going down a rabbit hole. I actually haven't been able to sleep. It's midnight now. I'm not doing okay. And he's like, okay, so I need you to stop reading news articles. And he was good. He kind of just kept on checking in with me over the next few days and had very long chats and give me kind of booster talks, which is good. And then I also texted my mental health mate, and was like, hey, I am just spiraling right now. And she's like, okay, let's have a plan here. And so like having a bit of a plan of what you need to do when shit is hitting the fan internally can make such a big difference. So things that you can do is, if you need medication, take medication. Even if you don't necessarily need medication right now, it might be something to help you get through this crisis, because people often do need that extra support. As somebody who's been on medication on and off for the last 10 years, I do want to like kind of be a voice for antidepressants. Antidepressants mean that you still absolutely feel all your feelings. You don't feel numb at all. Like, is this somebody who looks numb? You still get to feel all of the happiness. You still get to, and you'll still feel like sad and stuff like that. It just takes like the hitting rock bottom out of it. And if you have not had that experience with antidepressants, like, please know there's a whole range of antidepressants out there, and your body will work differently with them. So if you haven't been able to find one in the past, they're bringing out new ones all the time. The side effects are like so minimal. Like I don't even really have side effects on the medications that I'm on. And you can try out ones that really work nicely for you and your body. So medication, therapy, of course you want to be using telehealth, and there's still so many therapists that are doing it all online, which is great. Having like kind of a physical health plan, like making sure you're getting enough sunlight, making sure you're spending time outside, seeing if you can get some kind of exercise in is really, really important. And then limiting your news consumption is really, really important.
Yeah. And you actually created a course to help people with anxiety, didn't you?
Oh, yeah, because I have had a generalized anxiety disorder for the last 10 years or so. There's so many different like ways that you can, like, there's so many tools that you can use. So I created anxiety balm because I have so many friends that come to me like, I've got anxiety. You know what I mean? And like I have to tell them exactly the same things.
Yeah.
It was just my way of being able to say something once.
Yeah. Well done.
Thanks.
So, I think for some of us, we don't know how long this is going to go on for. And I think, for some of us, we've heard reports that it might be till September or even later. I know when I first heard that, I went, what the hell? I was like, I can't do this till September. But you know what? I definitely can. And I think the big thing is that we've got to stay in the now.
Yeah.
Trying to think about the future or plan for the future in some cases is a bit futile at the moment. But one thing that I've done, and spoiler alert, is I've actually created a meditation to help people stay in the now. It's going to be out very soon.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good work.
Yeah.
That'd be great, hey?
Yeah, so that should be out very soon. But it's something that I've learnt through this whole experience is you've just got to stay in the now. It's all you've got. And
Yeah.
if we start to freak out about the future, that's just irrational, really, when we think of it, because we're worrying about something we can't control.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the key things that's getting me through. What kind of tips, aside from what we've just discussed, would you give to people to keep at their best through this time?
Because I'm a very goals-orientated person, like who would have thought? Because like my workbooks are goals workbooks where you set your goals for your life and you set your goals for your business, and they've been used by like 400,000 people worldwide now, which is super fun. But originally I created them for myself because I was pregnant for the first time and I knew I was going to have a really hard year. Like some people are like, the day I gave birth to my child was the best day of my life. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? That bitch hurt so bad. Like it was awful. Like the best day of my life is just going to be a gentle, normal day at home on the veranda with my kids and my husband. And spoiler alert, I'm not pushing out a massive watermelon out my vagina and splitting it in two. Like, it doesn't factor into my best day. I've forgotten what I was saying. Just that whole vagina rant really took it out of me.
The goal workbooks.
Ah, yes. How did I get there from there? Sweet fucking Jesus. Okay. So I created the goals workbook to like get me through like the next year. And it was only an afterthought to like release it to the world. I was like, oh, I'll see if 10 people like it. Spoiler alert, 400,000 did. Anyway, so I've created those year after year, and then went into like the quarantine time, and I'm like, oh, holy shit. Like, what do I need to hold on to during this time? And for me, having a plan and setting some goals, like, is really, really important. So I created myself a quarantine planner and gave it away for free. So if you go to leoniedawson.com/planner, you can get it's all kind of beautifully illustrated and rainbows and unicorns and shit like that. And it's got 100 project ideas to do in quarantine. And it's got a permission slip for you to do sweet fucking all during this time. And just it kind of helps you plan for when mental health days are bad, for how you're going to look after your health, how you're going to remain connected to people that you don't live with, and those kinds of things. So the quarantine plan has been really big for me, and just to be able to set some new goals that are home centered has been really helpful for me.
Yeah, well, I just this morning was flicking through my workbook, and I've kind of been a bit slack in filling bits in, but it reminded me that I was like, this is a really good time to look at this.
Yeah, really.
And, that's what I wanted to chat to you about, was like, in a time like this, we can get into a mindset where we're like, well, there's no point in me planning anything because, I can't. But you can. This is where you can set goals just for today.
Yeah.
Just for now. Today I'm going to, weed that garden, which I haven't done, or I'm going to wash the dog, whatever it might be. That's your goal for today. Instead of, I'm going to make $1 million or whatever it is, just do today.
Yeah. Sark, the author, calls them micro movements. So even if it's something that you can accomplish in 15 minutes or less, like that's something you can do. Like it helps you kind of get out of that level of stagnation. And for me, like because I do write a daily list, and I don't achieve probably 50% of the things on there, but I prefer having lots of options.
Yeah.
And seeing how far the winds take me. But yeah, they include gardening and doing something with my kids and trying to bake something, trying to tidy up one area of the house. And then when I get to work, I set the same little goals for myself. And I also think like this is a great time for planning, for going through and doing things that like you've been meaning to do but felt like you didn't have time. It's a great time to like, actually organize all your files and your tax papers and get all that stuff sorted that you've never wanted to get done. But now you've got the time. Ta-da!
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'm like you. I've got this massive whiteboard here beside me, and it basically has all the tasks I need to do at any one time. And, I find once you get some ticks done, you get some stuff done, that gives you more momentum because you're then inspired to do more because it feels good because you've done it.
Exactly.
And I think that's the beauty of lists. And it was funny last night. I was thinking to myself, I know when I've got my mojo back when I start cooking again, because I cooked up a massive feast last night to last me the rest of the week. I'm like, okay, I'm back on track now.
Yeah, it is back, bitches.
So, I think the quarantine planner is an excellent idea. And you are so amazing at brainstorming. Like, you come up with these lists of things for people to do, whether, business is quiet or you need a project or you want to make money, whatever it is, you can do that quite easily. Where do you find the inspiration to do that?
I'm just a bossy person. My niche. And I'm creating a new course at the moment with one of my best mates because her massage business, of course, she had to close. And my husband came running over to me while I was in a Pilates class, a Zoom Pilates class, of course. And he's like, honey, once you're done, can you call Deb and make sure that she's okay? Because I just thought she had to, like, everyone's going to have to close their businesses. Like, you need to make sure she's okay. So I called her and I was like, hey, we should do a course together because you finally have time. And we were talking about it later, and my husband comes over and like joins, on the call with Deb, and he's like, hey, Deb, it's Chris. Just make sure Leonie doesn't boss you around too much. And if she does boss you around too much, comes up with all these ideas, just tell her to back off. And she's like, thanks, Chris. I needed that permission. And I just thought, that's gold. Like, this man is untamable. This is how he survived 20 years of being married to the world's like most bossiest and inspired woman. Like, oh, you could do this, honey. And my husband's like, man, I'm not doing anything you tell me to do. Like, he's an untamable rebel. He is a stallion, like, out in the paddock that will never be tamed. He's a Mustang. So that's how he's coped. I have a lot of ideas of what people should do. And like, I would love to be able to boss people around. They're like, I've got such great plans for everybody else's lives. That's how I come up with my ideas, is I just think about how I can be like control people. No, I don't know, like my brain's just always got like, oh, I could do this, I could do that, I could do this, could do that, you could do this, you could do that, you could do this, you could do that. So it helps for me to tame that energy into a planner and try and make it more, something that people actually choose for themselves instead of me being so bossy.
And I'm so glad that you have held on to your creativity through this time where some of us have actually let it go. So thank you so much for that.
Oh, it's kind of what I need to do so that I don't lose my shit. You know? And as soon as Corona hit, I turned around and like created homeschooling in a time of coronavirus, which is like a 6,000 word article plus podcast and all of the resources attached to that. And then I did money in the time of coronavirus to, try and help people work out through their money stuff. It was just like, I just kept on turning. I'm going, okay, how can people help me how can I help people today and release that creativity out into the world? And that for me helps me because the creativity part is a really important part of my mental health. And the overproducing, obviously, clearly.
Yeah, and I know, what's really helped me is whenever I've done something creative, it's put me back on track, so whether it be painting, playing guitar, whatever it is, I'm then, okay, yeah, I'm good now, Yeah. It's almost like the therapy we all need,
It really is. And I think like that there is nothing more healing and nothing sweeter than your own creative energies. Like it's been my one true love, my soulmate through this, through all of life, you know.
Yeah. And that's where you and I have got so much in common, in that we're here to help people. So, and we're creating those resources to help people. So,
exactly.
Which is why we're here today.
Da, 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 da.
Leonie, I can't thank you enough for joining me again on the Ethical Evolution. You are an absolute joy as always.
Oh, Bendy, I love you big heaps, honey. And I'm giving you like 6 feet away hugs, just touching you through the screen.
Last time you were hugging yourself.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
That's nice. Did you know that the research on self-compassion done by Dr. Kristen Neff shows that if you do hug yourself and hold yourself tightly, it actually does set off your mammalian caregiving response. So you actually do get the endorphin rush. And if you say, it sets it off too. So anyway, there's tight touch, and even just like rubbing your own arm and just going, it really works. And they've seen that mammals all make that same noise. So if you think of a dog that's trying to comfort another dog, it goes, like it's actually a thing. We're fucking mammals, guys.
That is amazing. Okay, self-hugs galore, people.
Yeah. And go, yeah. It really does work. So and do it for like a 10 or a 20-second period, and you will actually feel the little endorphin light up in your brain.
Wow. You know what? That's the one thing I've missed in ISO is hugs.
Yeah. Well, you've got hands, baby.
Oh, God, I love you.
It's a DIY project.
I'm on it.
Yeah, and maybe, do you have a weighted blanket?
No, I don't.
Oh, babes, get yourself one. Doll. It is like a hug. It's very comforting, and I don't know how I'd get through this time without a nice weighted blanket. I usually get mine from calmingmoments.com.au, but you can get them from all kinds of places, and they're just magical. They really are.
Yeah. All right. I'm on that too.
Yeah. It will stop you from being an alcoholic, because honestly, like,
how did you know?
It's like Dan Murphy's, like the stocks that are going up right now. You look at the stocks and you're like, that's how people are dealing with it. Like Zoom stocks are going really well. Dan Murphy's stocks are going really well. Thule, which is a trampoline company, is going really well. Like, it's hilarious. And I'm sure weighted blanket stocks will go up as well.
Oh, man. You're on the trends. You're on the pulse.
I'm watching. I don't want to be left behind.
Oh, God, you crack me up. Thank you so much, honey.
You're babes. Stay strong. We can do this.
We
can do hard things, as Glenn and Dora would say.
Thanks for listening to the Ethical Evolution podcast. If you're an ethical business owner, change maker, or holistic healer who's determined to make a change in the world and you need support to spread your message, visit ethicalchangeagency.com to collaborate.
Hey there, I'm DC. I host the rock podcast, Back to the Arena, The Interviews. It's about a 30-minute podcast where I talk one-on-one with a band who has released new music. You can find us on all the best podcast sites like Spotify, Apple, Google, iHeartRadio, and more. If you're a rock fan like me, subscribe today to Back to the Arena, The Interviews.
Electricast. Hey there, fabulous souls. I'm Stephanie Baclaan.
And I'm Eden Albert.
And we're the hosts of the brand new podcast, Unapologetically Fab.
Get ready to join us on an amazing and real journey as we dive into life after 40 and own it.
We're all about changing the narrative, leaning into who you are, and living a life by your own design.
Join us as we embrace life unapologetically and redefine success.
This is Unapologetically Fab,
an Electricast production.
See you there.